Once you log into your Windows, this is what you see usually. This is what you're familiar with, and your desktop comes up with your icons, and these are these are your icons. You also have your start menu at the bottom, the button, and you have your taskbar with the notifications and all the other items and options and settings like Wi-Fi settings and everything. You also have your charms bar, which you can access your search, share your devices. You can even go to your start screen from there. Um, there's also your date and time and everything. And now we're gonna switch over to the
Mac interface. Okay, so the Mac interface boots up quite similarly to Windows, except instead of a taskbar, you have what's known as the dock. This contains shortcuts to any apps you want or any documents even. You have your trash bin on the dock as well instead of your.
And just like you have pinned apps in your taskbar, just like that, it has all the apps pinned there already. Like all the apps you want to pin, you can pin there, right? Just like because they're pinned, right? Instead of just having the apps you have open, and you only have a few apps in Windows usually pinned down there. You have multiple apps that are there, and you can remove them if you can customize the taskbar to what you want it to be, right? And a dot below the icon, I think, indicates
that it's a running app.
It's a running app, yeah.
And it's not only applications that you can print to this dock, and anything you want, whether it's a folder,
yep,
right, or if it's a picture.
So, for example, there is this libraries folder,
yeah,
on this. All right, and so as you see here, like just like the date, time, and settings and everything, and the notifications in Mac, this moves up to this top.
And you have menus very similar to
just like the sound, this, Wi-Fi settings, your date. Now we're gonna go with your Finder. Or no, not Finder. No, what's on there, right? What else do we have? Notifications, right? So this is how your little notifications here are. What is your notifications? So those are your notifications in Mac.
Right. It's very mobile-like, most people would say.
You don't have to talk. We're just show and then like I'm just talking so we have a sense of how long the video is.
Time, right? Timing. Okay, so you have your date. You have whether you can add widgets to this notification center. World clock, stocks. Those all come built in. Also, and you have your actual notifications, which will just be displayed here as you need them.
Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the top. Now, when you open an Explorer, this gives you this file view and computer options for everything. For example, if you click on local disk C, it gives you these options. Now, usually when you browse something on Windows, you go to your libraries, which has your desktop, your documents, and then all your drives you have there. In Mac, programs, this is kind of like your My Computer, and you can see your drive.
So by default, it shows all your files. Right? Any recent files that you opened, so organized by today, yesterday, etc. You have your iCloud Drive, similar to how Windows has OneDrive. You have AirDrop, which is which it'll be explained later on, but it's a system for sharing files between Macs. You have your Dropbox if you installed applications.
And your applications, basically, instead of having all the applications here in the main start menu where you have all these applications, Mac makes it easier for you, and instead of going to My Computer, local disk C, and having all your program files, and having, for example, Microsoft Office and each of the singular files being there, and makes it really complicated for a normal user to look at. But what Mac does is bundles them, but that doesn't mean you don't get access to the normal files. If you want to access the normal files, you can just open the bundle.
And we recommend that you don't.
Of course, you do not want to be messing up with the program files, because that's what leads to errors. and that's what people complain
But
about
for
later
some
on,
reason-
right?
yeah, but for
This is one of the ways how Mac really avoids kind of having problems with its customers, right? Because a lot of people don't know what they're doing on Windows, and sometimes they just go around, it's like, I don't want this software, and they just go around and deleting stuff, but they don't know there's a lot of shared files in Windows, and Mac kind of bundles everything, and if it kind of literally uninstalls every time you try to delete something, so it makes it easier for you.
Also, you notice another key difference between Mac and Windows is that Mac tends to hide a lot of things. So for Windows, you see your local disk C, local, any connected drives directly right there. But Mac instead shoves this into your shortcut called your.
So instead of going to your My Computer, which this PC, which shows all the disks you have, Mac kind of puts your devices and all the disks it's have in one place, but that's not the main thing Mac is trying to show you. What it wants you to access is just these your different files. Folders. Yeah, your files more easily, right? And also we can move on to Searcher now, right?
Yeah.
Or another thing, for the programs. Now every time you open up a program, for example, you have let's just see, let's open up for example, there's File Manager, and let's, for example, open up a new Word file. All right. Now, when you open up a Word file, you can open a blank document, and it has all these tabs at the top. Now, every program has them differently, and it's kind of linked on the program on Windows, right? But just like it's linked on this window right up there. But on Mac, it's different. On Mac, it always stays up top, and those are your settings for your desktop, which is your Finder.
Yeah.
And once you open an app.
So say we open an application, a native application, Pages. Okay, and we click New Document here. Okay, so automatically based on that app, it has automatically changed all your menus up here, and it shows you that Pages is the active app.
Yeah. So, like, for example, if you move around, you can see it's not linked to the app. It's seriously up top. Yeah, and the way you change it is by selecting the thing. For example, if you have the background selected, it changes back to the Finder, what you have selected. Now, if you go back to the file here, and you on the program, you can see why it's selected, and you can see all the top tabs change, and they change according to the program. So that's something different you have to get used to, because it's very confusing if you're coming from Windows, because Windows allows you to look at all these tabs right away. All right, so moving on. Windows has a different kind of search system. You can access your search from the charms bar or just click start and start typing. Now Windows has this really cool thing where if you type in something, it kind of gives you a search options for everywhere: settings, files, web images, or web videos. Or, you know, if there's nothing on your computer that is according to thing, it gives you app suggestions. Or even if you just click on it, it gives you this really cool way of looking at something that is online, right? It gives you all these it organizes kind of a web page, this Bing search for you, and it tells you what you have searched for. So it's a very quick way to find out something, and we'll see how this works in Mac. And of course, in Windows, it's a kind of a Metro app, which you're going to have to get used to.
Okay, so the recent introduction of Yosemite, which was a big update to OS X and Mac in general, brought along with it a new sort of spotlight search that sort of borrowed a lot from Windows features. In terms of you could previously it was mostly all for your files on your computer.
Yeah, it was kind of like Windows 7, where you would have a start menu and you just search your files. It wasn't really connected with anything online. Now Mac has changed it and indifferent too.
And now basically it's its functionality has expanded a lot more. So we have like basic calculator functions, right? We can also search up people, and it will automatically pull.
So it has almost become like a Google Now or a Siri kind of thing. So anything you search on your computer, anything you ask, kind of like you ask to your computer, If, for example, you want to have little tasks, not complicated tasks, but little tasks, kind of like Google Now tasks. And if you want to search something, for example, and that isn't on your computer, it just takes you to a web search.
Some apps it will open, like it'll be linked to your, or some songs, it'll be linked to your music.
Okay.
So if you type in artisan, okay, let's go with. Right.
All right.
Okay, so see here, you have a folder. So this is just one of my personal files. You have the artist on iTunes, and if you click on that, it'll open up that artist iTunes.
So
page.
basically, it gives you these different sub tabs within what you're looking for. It could be found. All right.
Yeah, you have definitions.
Yeah.
You have Wikipedia pages, etc., etc. And usually, if it's unable to find anything,
It'll take you to a Google.
It'll usually try to lead you to a search.
Okay.
Our page.
Okay. And all right, closing apps in Windows. Now we all know that when, for example, we open Word, you can see at the bottom that there's a Word file open, right? Like, for example, we open Excel. I know. I'm only recording on this. It's okay. So, for example, we open Excel. See, as I'm using the search functionality we talked about, and
we'll simultaneously do the same thing here.
Okay.
I guess. Right?
Yeah. All right. Now, when you have open Excel, you know at the bottom there's this app showing, and it's highlighted, and Excel is open, and you can work on it. Now, when you're done with your stuff and you close it, you know it's gone. It's closed, but technically it is still running in your tasks, right? In the background, which will over time, if your computer thinks is necessary to delete, to get rid of, it will get rid of it. But for the time being, it's running. But if you want to really close it, even in Windows, you're gonna have to end task. But usually it closes itself. It doesn't if it seems like there's no need for it. Let's see how it works in Mac.
Right.
No.
Okay, so we opened up Excel here. Okay, so we started a blank spreadsheet, and here we go, popped up. Okay, so say we're done. We're done with the document. Okay, so we close it down. Okay, don't save. And you see now that the Excel app is still running in this corner, right? Even though we just closed the window.
So that just means that he has closed the window, but the app itself is still running. But in contrary to Windows, where the app was actually still running, but it wasn't showing up on the taskbar. But here it's showing up on the taskbar, so you don't have to go to an extra step if you really want to get rid of some RAM.
So when we click on that again, it just
immediately opens up without no startup time.
And if you do want to close this app, there's a couple of ways of doing this. You can either open the app, go to the menu bar, and the app menu, and select quit, or you could just right click here
and quit app.
And quit app there. Or there's a fast shortcut which most Mac users use, which is just Command and Q, and that will quit all of the application.
Okay, now in Windows, you all know there's one desktop, and you can have all your, shortcuts and whatever you like to do. And unless you have multi screens, you don't really have that functionality to have more than one desktop. But Mac has a different way of approaching this, which I think is coming in Windows 10, but let's see how it works in Mac.
So Mac, taking from, since it's a derivative of a Unix system, similar to Linux and so on, and it has support for multiple desktops. So, okay, so say we opened up a Safari window here, and to drag this onto another desktop if you wanted.
Now, for example, we have the Safari window, right? Like you said, and then if you swipe up on your trackpad with 3 fingers, you can look at all your desktops. Like you can see in this Windows, there's only one desktop open right now, but you can add another one, and now you can have another desktop. For example, you're talking with your friends, you're watching videos on this desktop, but you want to do some work, right? And you want to separate those two workplaces. Now you go to desktop 2, and you open up your numbers, and you're gonna start typing and new document. Okay, start working here. Now you want to go switch back to talking to someone, right? And you just 3 finger swipe up. You can even swipe to the side to see what's on your other desktop. You can have more than 2 desktops, almost as many you can have according to your RAM. And when you switch the desktop, it takes you back to what you were doing on the other desktop. So it's a very good way to compartmentalize what you're doing and separate the 2 different things you're doing.
If you're
kind
working,
of working.
if you're working on multiple tasks,
yeah,
you might want
it
to
makes
separate.
it very easy to organize. And also another thing this adds is the maximize feature in Windows. For example, when you open up a window and comes up like this, just like there, and once you click maximize, it goes there, but it's still there down there in the exact same manner. But in Mac, when you do that, it kind of becomes a whole desktop. It becomes a full screen app. And when you 3-finger swipe up, now you can see that there's a Finder full screen app there. So you can switch between your desktops and your Finder over there, which is very convenient because sometimes when you're doing full screen videos, you can watch a video and quickly switch over to another desktop and start doing something else without actually minimizing or even shortening the video. So in Windows, what you would have to do is press escape and then go back to do something else. Here you can quickly switch onto another desktop and start doing your work, and go back to whatever you were doing on the other thing, even if it's a full screen app. So there. And then once you want to get rid of the full screen app and make it thing, once you click it, it goes back to your first desktop, whatever it was on.
To close it up, and you can just close
Yeah.
it there like that. This is similar to the features Windows has for Metro apps.
Yeah.
Actually, on the left.
Yeah.
If you open up any Metro app,
Which one do you want me to open?
the Internet Explorer, sure.
I don't think he has Internet Explorer.
On the left, it was the first thing.
No, he doesn't have the
Okay.
Metro. Here, for example, Reader.
Okay. So you've opened this app, and now switch to your desktop.
Oh,
You-
okay.
you can
You click on the desktop.
And
Alright.
this is it's functionally identical to what Windows, to what Mac has. The only difference being is that in Mac, most of your desktop apps also support full screen, whereas in Windows you have specialized apps that work on only on your full screen and only on the desktop.
You can press the F11 to go
Yeah.
full screen. Yeah, that's a different thing though. And now another thing is when you're doing something, Alt Tab is a big thing to switch between your apps, and it's very useful in Windows to quickly switch between what you're doing. And in Mac, it kind of works as in again through accessing your different desktops and just by 3-finger swiping up and switching apps. And what would be the command for that?
In terms of command, most Macs have a dedicated button. So the F3 button will show up as there on Macs. There's an icon representing mission control, which is what it's called. And if you click that, you get your mission control, which shows you any open apps. Some people, if you're just switching from Windows, if you're still used to the
Alt tab,
you can still use your control tab here.
Command
tab,
which is pretty similar to Alt
which
tab.
is pretty much identical.
And
And
basically switches between all your open files and programs.
Exactly. And we would also want to distinguish the difference between mission control and expose. So mission control shows you all your apps, right? All your spaces, full screen apps, everything. That's hence mission control. It shows you whatever is running on your computer.
Whatever is on your desktop.
There's also another similar gesture, which is 3 fingers down, and this shows you, instead of all your apps, it shows you only apps from that application, only windows from that application.
Okay.
Right. In addition to anything minimized will show up here, or anything, any recent documents.
Oh, okay.
will
So
also
for
show up
example, if I have 2 Word windows, right?
Yeah.
And then here it shows up as 2, and if I hover over it, it shows me that there's the 2 windows. So to move over, and if you're on Mac and you want to see what type of windows you have open, you basically 3-finger swipe down, and it shows you the 2 different windows, just like the 2 Word windows there are.
And of course, we have the very similar functionality in Mac as well.
Yeah.
Except instead of a graphical representation,
Exactly.
it lists all your windows that you have open.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you right click on the Windows tab and then it says what's pinned and then recent, but it doesn't really tell you what it is. It's kind of like that menu, but it's telling you which kind of
This
things are open.
combines
Yeah.
the two of them. It has recents and
exactly.
options, keep
And
it
then
up.
instead of that hover thing, it kind of adds that thing to this list. All right.
Right. And most apps come pre-installed with pretty much anything you need.
Loves you.